Hello, everybody. Happy Diwali. That is the one thing we don't want to miss to have a show on Diwali. So, with this, I am kicking off our Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello again, and welcome to NRIs. Happy Diwali. And today, our show is going to be again very special, third in the series for Grihastha Ashram. But before I do my show, I'm going to give you a little background for last about 4 weeks I was out. I've been traveling to United States. So I saw my kids. I was in Tampa. Tampa is badly hurt by hurricanes. Two hurricanes in a week, back to back. So that was the problem. I went to my home and then I attended a wedding in Miami. And from there, I came back to India. In India, since then, my dog is very sick. So I am busy during the entire Diwali festivities. I was busy taking him to the vet, taking him to the hospital, and even today, he is just not eating anything. So, with that personal things, we decided to continue our Grihastha Ashram series. And I know I got a lot of feedback about this series, and especially with Avantika ji, who joins us from Singapore. And this show, you would always see her amazing ideas about marriage, about renewal, about how um, one can continue living in his Grihastha ashram, living in abroad. And I got a lot of good feedback about her ideas, how one can achieve an ideal Grihastha ashram as per Hindu philosophy. So we are going to continue in this third episode in that series. And today's topic, we are we are talking about apology. We are talking about how an apology and being sorry, how it can help in your marriage, in your forgive, in your renewal, and or not only just in marriage, even in the business sense, how this forgiveness impacts your life. Before she comes, I am going to read an amazing verse which I found today, and this is absolutely appropriate on Diwali. Shamaya rochate Lakshmi, Shamaya rochate Kulam, Shamaya vidya shobhante, Shamaya sarvam priyo bhaved. It means through forgiveness, one gains prosperity and respect for one's family. Forgiveness adorns knowledge, and by forgiveness, one becomes dear to all. So there is a word in Hindi, it's called Atma Mugdhata. And we were actually talking about it. I'm going to get Avantika ji on the show first. Let me welcome her. Avantika ji, welcome to the show NRIs, and thank you very much to join us.
Namaskar and Shubha Dipavali to all.
Shubh Deepavali to you as well. How did your Diwali go in Deepavali go in Singapore?
Extremely beautiful, extreme. It always is. It's my most favorite festival. And I feel very happy that across three continents, America, Australia, and now Singapore, for the last 25 years, I've been able to celebrate it with full pomp and show in the absolute traditional
Go.
way, puja and everything. That like even I putting henna
With
and all of that.
traveling and your
Yes.
Mehndi and
And it's good because I have maintained these traditions. They're very dear to my children as well, who've only been born and brought up abroad. So it's always for us parents, especially the women folk, if we can keep
yeah,
up these traditions. Otherwise, it's going to be lost to them.
yeah. So what did you enjoy most this Diwali?
I like all of it, I think, but my most favorite part is the Lakshmi Pujan, the actual ritualistic prayer offered to
Uh-huh.
Goddess Lakshmi. I
Hmm.
think that, especially this year, was very, very powerful. I don't know why, but energetically, I
Tell
found
us
it.
a little bit about it. What did you do in this, and for how long does it take? What
So
is the
each one does it very differently. It is basically to propitiate the goddess of wealth. So it's very common amongst business families. I come from business family. Both my dad's side and mom's side had businesses. I've married a professional, so we don't have a business. But I've continued the tradition because Lakshmi has been very dear to me. So there's a lot of like abhishekam and puja, and followed by aratis, and it's a good 2.5 hour ritual. But it's
wow,
fantastic to
two
see my
hours?
to it's fantastic to see my American kids really into it,
They
and
enjoy it.
offer, they enjoy they and they adore it and they revere it. That's more important than just enjoying it.
Yeah,
It means something to them. They don't miss any of it.
yeah.
So that's good. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. How was your trip to Canada? You were in Canada, or?
Yes, I'd gone to spend some time with my daughter. It
Mm,
was very good. Very cold. I'm not a cold person. That's why I like hot, humid Singapore.
yeah.
But Montreal is a very pretty place, very French dominant. So I like that because I've studied French all my life. And it's got a little bit of that European touch, which is always nice. So, yeah.
You
I,
also teach. You also teach Bhagavad Gita, or you teach Hinduism. What is your area of expertise?
So basically, it started off with life coaching, like just how to get through with life. And then
Yeah,
when I've been a yoga teacher for a very, very long time. I did a diploma in Hatha Yoga from Australia. And I
right.
taught yoga and meditation for a very long time. And then I really got serious about Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. So I was associated with Chinmay Mission for a long time, where I started studying. And then I got into really serious studies. Did a whole 3 year course twice over with Vedanta Academy. And I think Bhagavad Gita just captured my attention completely. And it has been in my life forever. Even before I understood it, it came into my life. But when I really started implementing various teachings from the Bhagavad Gita, and I started seeing miraculous effects, and then when I started bringing it into my life coaching, which had nothing to do with spirituality, it was more about marriage counseling and teenagers and all of that. But when I started teaching them or bringing those concepts of the Bhagavad Gita to my clients, and I saw huge transformative effects, then I dropped the psychology, life coaching altogether, and I converted all of them into Bhagavad Gita students. And I think it's very practical, because who are we as humans to give each other advice? I think
Mhm.
if we can just lead anybody and everybody to the core of our scriptural texts and make them understand that, they will be able to figure out their own solutions for their own problems. And if you are able to understand your own problem and find a solution, it's more impactful than going to a therapist who's just going to tell you yao yao tiao tiao on a very superficial level. Or I don't know, somehow I just feel that
Yeah.
scriptural knowledge can really bring you to the core of your own problems. So
See, and it is really easy these days. All you have to do is Google it or go on Chat GPT. And if you go on Chat GPT, like today, I was searching for some verses for forgiveness and apology, and it brought me like 5 or 6 verses from Bhagavad Gita, along with the entire details and everything. So if somebody has interest, they can really find those solutions using ChatGPT. They don't need
uh,
to read the whole thing, but they can immediately find some solution and some kind of reference for few.
Chat GPT, I would still refrain from, actually, because we are working on that. That a lot of misinformation is on Chat GPT, because
Mhm,
actually Hinduism, the way it has been propagated abroad, is quite
mhm,
scary. It's been propagated in a wrong light, and a
mhm.
lot of that you would find on Chat GPT. So, if you be a bit careful, it's always good to be with a recognized institution or proper teachers, because a
Right.
lot of things, like through ChatGPT, you might just hear that Bhagavad Gita is a warmongering text. It talks about war, when actually war is just the symbolism behind what the entire text is about. So, because of we know what's happened to India, we know about the invasions, we know about the bad mouthing, you have to be a little bit careful. And we are actually working for the right context of Bhagavad Gita to be put onto ChatGPT. It's a massive project that
Mm,
Project Self USA has taken up.
mm.
So we are hoping that ChatGPT will have the correct, right, and authentic Bhagavad Gita translations and commentaries on there. It's a
Right.
very long run
So
project, but be
they are probably picking up the public, whatever is the public thing of libel. That's public, literature of libel or public. So, well, coming to our topic, I was thinking about, all night, what should I ask? But let me give you a little background. I am a part of a group on Facebook. It has about over 160,000 members. And every time I read something on that group, I find either a question about marriage, divorce, separation. Like, there is never a question about union. There is never a question about good things. People are always in anxiety. And out of their anxiety, they don't want to go to their psychotherapist or psychologist or nurse or even a doctor or an attorney. They want to take free advice. And because these days Facebook allows anonymous questions because you can ask any questions anonymously, a lot of these people ask those questions there. So most of the questions, when I realize and I try to find the essence of these questions, they kind of they come from from a perspective where most of these people are not either happy in their marriages or have questions about the separation process or divorce process. And I know, I mean, it's a long process, people take time, but when you go deep into the problems, because then a lot of people ask, why did you reach to this problem, why you are having this problem? And if it is a woman, they blame a man. If it is a man, they blame a woman. So it's constantly somebody is blaming somebody. And I could see it now, like why this happens. But tell us why people, what is apology, number one, and why people need it. So my first question is, what is apology in regular day to day, not a philosophical definition, but in a regular day to day basis, how one should understand apology and the importance of apology.
So, first of all, we have to understand that we are all humans. And there's a very famous quote that goes, to err is human, to forgive is divine.
Air. Air
To err,
is human.
err to make mistakes, ERR.
Oh, okay.
Okay. To err is human,
To err is human.
but to forgive is divine. Okay. So,
Forgive is
is divine.
divine.
Now, I will come from the Vedanta standpoint.
Mm.
What does Advaita Vedanta say? That there is no God sitting up there in heaven. You are God. Tattvamasi aham brahmasmi. You are
Right,
that. I am that. Okay.
right.
What separates us from our own innate godhood? It is all of this. It's this ego, this ignorance, this humanness. And if we are just able to understand that every single human falls prey to making mistakes, there is no human. In fact, in the Bible, there's that beautiful quote that says, anybody who hasn't sinned can lift the stone and throw it first. And nobody could pick it up. They were trying to put down a prostitute, I think, and
So
it's
we
a
have a
beautiful
we have a
parable.
Bollywood song है कि जो लोग शीशे के घरों में रहते हैं वो लोगों के घरों पे पत्थर नहीं मारा करते.
पत्थर में. So it is not possible to, unless you become first of all human enough to understand that just as you make mistakes, every single person makes mistake. And as long as there's an apology, like you said, what is the definition of apology? For me, I think the simplest definition is changed behavior. If somebody recognizes their mistake and apologizes and then follows it up immediately by absolutely changed behavior, then that apology is complete. Like, in what do people mostly do? First of all, they don't. Like, you started this podcast and you said that man is blaming woman is blaming man. Nobody takes accountability कि मेरी भी कोई गलती हुई है. Nobody will
नहीं
take that.
नहीं
The
देखना
first step towards an apology is खुद के गिरबान में हाथ डाल के देखो कि what have I done in this? ताली कभी एक हाथ से नहीं बजती. You need two hands to clap. It
see the
takes two to tango.
problem comes everybody says oh he made the mistake first
But
and
that's what
that is where it all started so
but
he
that
is
is
the
what
yeah
That is what Mahatma Gandhi says, right? An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. So
correct
अगर उसने आपको थप्पड़ मारा है तो आप भी थप्पड़ मारोगे फिर वो भी थप्पड़ मार where does this end?
it doesn't
So
end
I don't say condone bad behavior. That's not right. But again, I'm a very quote kind of a person. So another quote that stands out for me is, uh, you know, you basically have to understand that everybody is human. You
everybody
absolutely have to understand that everybody is human and everybody makes mistakes. As long as there is accountability, as long as there is somebody understanding that they have made a mistake and apologizing with changed behavior, I think
so
forgiveness is okay.
so let me yeah so the problem is not forgiving yet we are not coming to the forgive part right now first is the acceptance of apology the problem is when somebody says like every day आपने आप घूम रहे हैं चल रहे हैं किसी से आपका पांव टकरा गया कुछ हो गया आपने सॉरी बोला you move on but what if they says that you made a grave mistake like in my business somebody violated a NDA somebody violated a business term or something or my employee did stealing now those are the mistakes which are unpardonable you have to go to the police you have to go to the court and you have to protect yourself now some people say well if you can afford it and if it doesn't matter just forgive but sometimes you think well in order to protect yourself for future you have to teach a lesson to the person who actually took advantage of you in that vulnerable situation similarly when a husband and wife or in a marriage even the kids anybody if they commit a mistake and if the other party thinks that mistake is absolutely unpardonable I cannot have that person roam around with another woman or look at another woman and if that person says I cannot have this woman look at another man it's absolutely unpardonable now where does that anger come from where does that feeling that ego that I want to understand that part because that is the part which is the most destructive part, which prevents forgiveness. Because
Okay.
until that anger stays there, so
I'm going
let's.
to go back. I'm going to go back too because you said two different things together. So first
Mhm.
of all, you were talking about unpardonable sins. Of course,
Right.
there are unpardonable sins. That is why we have boundaries. That is what we decide first. This is what I will tolerate. This is what I will not tolerate. And I think everybody has their own self-esteem and self-respect. So if according to see, Hinduism especially does not give any 10 commandments thou shalt and thou shalt not. It comes down to each one's conscience. What is right for one may be completely wrong for another. Okay, but once, especially now, let's just focus on marriage. Let's keep the business thing out. Let's just focus on marriage. Okay, when two people come together in a marriage, there are said and unsaid rules that they agree upon. Okay, and some rules are held on more fastidiously than others. Some are like okay lackadaisical, ठीक है होगा हुआ नहीं हुआ, but some are very very important to that person. So when the other partner has crossed those lines of stepping over those rules, those Lakshman Rekhas that have been made, of course that sin is going to be unpardonable. But that is the quote I wanted to share before, and I just lost track a little bit. Hate the sin, not the sinner.
Yeah, but
It's a
that
very
I
powerful quote. It is a
hate
very
the sin,
hate the
hate
sin,
uh,
the
not
sin,
the sinner.
not the sinner. आप पति पत्नी हो. What is the substratum in your relationship is absolutely pure love. You see, and that love if it is real, and especially, I'm sure you're talking about marriages. If you're talking about our generation marriages, they've held on for it's for a long enough time. It's not ki kal shadi hogi 6 mahine ke baad they're talking divorce. No,
Yeah.
these are marriages that have held for a little while. So we have to build those marriages to that point where love supersedes all these mistakes. And even the unpardonable mistakes, of course they have to be punished. You can't not punish a mistake that has to be punished. When you talk about children, when children do unpardonable sins, if you as a parent are not able to correct that sin, tomorrow they would go up to become serial killers or don't ask what. Who's going to be responsible for that? Like, I'll
So
just give a
what's the
very
difference? What's the difference between you take the control and punish the sinner, maybe husband, wife, spouse, kids, children, right? You have control only on your family, nobody else. Like, in a family, if we talk about that gamut. So pardonable mistakes and unpardonable mistakes, you said. Now, what you're talking about forgiving is just the pardonable mistakes, which is okay that you do one time, don't repeat it, it's fine. What is unpardonable mistake if we talk about between spouses with an example, and how can we fix those, and how can we forgive even those? What's the process in Hinduism, or anybody, what is our scripture say?
See, for me, I think a simple definition is a mistake, which a mistake is a mistake when it happens once.
Okay.
A mistake that
It happens
happens
once. Okay.
a mistake that keeps happening repeatedly
Mhm.
is deliberate. It's a
Correct.
choice.
Correct.
So एक बार किसी का पैर फिसल गया, या एक बार somebody just strays, which is very very common.
Right.
Like I said, the back foot of the relationship that you all have stood on for so long should be powerful, more powerful than that one mistake. But if a
Sometimes.
mistake is being repeated over and over, अगर ये pattern बन जाता है, like, okay, let's just talk about the basic thing, which I'm sure you've hinted at before: infidelity, flirting. If it's a repeated pattern, that is very, very demeaning for a woman to tolerate, any woman to tolerate, no matter how secure she is. Like, you asked a question, where is this anger or where is this possessiveness coming out of? It basically comes from a point of insecurity when a man or a woman is very insecure within themselves. When they don't have a standing firm enough, when their astitva is not very, very strong, then they are always in that shaky position ki my wife's going to run away with somebody, my husband's going to run away with somebody, or I am not as good as my spouse would want me to be. So it's coming from that very, very, very strong feeling of insecurity within that person. So the first step, I always tell my kids, and I think if any of the younger generation is listening to this, you complete me is a bygone statement. No two incomplete people should come together to try and complete each other. Especially in this day and age, it's a portion for disaster. My
No two
take is
people. Come again. No two people.
no two
No two
incomplete people
incomplete people
should
come
be coming
together
together to try and find completeness with the other.
to
This
complement each other. Okay.
to
Where
complete
does
each
it?
other,
Oh, to complete each other, not
to
complement.
complete each other.
Complete each other.
What should happen is
And
two
at what
very
point they know that they both are incomplete, or they
let me
both
just
are
finish what I'm
complete.
saying. Let me just finish what I'm saying first. Two complete people should
To
come together
uh-huh,
to complement each other.
complement.
Because when both people, and nowadays, if you see हमारे ज़माने में, we
Uh-huh.
used to always say this thing, my better half. Why does your better half not happen to be within you? Why does it have to be outside of you and you've put all your eggs in that basket of somebody else being your better half? So you
Hmm.
be your best full and join another best full and come together in fullness to create something absolutely new.
Yeah.
you know so all this problem, he should not look at her and
So
she should
is
not
this
look.
right sentence? Two incomplete people should not come together to complete each other.
And the other statement is two complete people should come together to complement each other. That is the magic of relationships.
So I have a question. What do
Yes,
you
sure.
mean by complete and incomplete? Give us with the example.
See, when I was younger, a very wise older friend told me that make sure
Mhm.
whenever you are in a relationship or whenever you are married, the man should be crazier about you than you about the man. Then it works.
The man
ठीक है?
should be more possessive to you. The man should have, okay, the man should, so can we, so in a practical sense, can we say men should love you more than you love him?
So I mean, at that time it made sense. My generation was different, my background was different. But what I
Right.
have come to understand is that in a relationship nobody should be chasing the other, you see. It should not be love. They should both, that's what I'm saying, that both should, like, a man should feel incredibly lucky that this woman is my wife, and the wife should feel incredibly lucky that this man is my husband. In that,
Correct.
there's no looking around, there's no flirting. It's very humiliating for the other
Right.
person, when there's
Right.
all this, when you're standing beside your husband. And we talked about this pre-show a little bit. For any man to just go on giving
Flaunting,
attention to all other women,
flaunting, and just yeah.
to giving attention to other, when their most beautiful wife is standing besides them. And it's a bit
Correct.
funny, even now, when you talk about women empowerment and all that, it is looked down upon if a woman does the same thing. If in
Correct.
a party she leaves her husband and goes and talks to four other men, there will be eyebrows raised, whether you're in the US or whether you're in India. But if the man
That is
if the
true.
man goes and talks, it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. He's a man, right? He can do that.
Yeah.
While the poor wife is just standing and waiting for his attention. So it doesn't work like that. It's a bit.
So what should we do? Tell the middle path for this. This is a quite common issue, very common issue. I found it very common. How do they fix it?
So I
Because
gave you.
they say, oh, we are 24/7 together at home, work, and this and that. If you go to the party and if we are going hand in hand like a couple, people just, talk about us. They look at us. Oh, they are inseparables. They are like lovebirds. I can't do anything. My networking, she can't do anything. They both feel like, oh, we are like, in a cage. So
But
I heard all these kind of things,
they
that at the
shouldn't be.
same time they feel like suffocated.
But they shouldn't be doing. This is exactly why I'm saying, ना, अगर दो अधूरे व्यक्ति साथ आ रहे हैं,
Oh, the first one. So that means
so
they are
obviously,
incomplete.
exactly. So obviously, if your better half or the other piece of you is wandering somewhere else, you're going to be hanging incomplete over here, right? So that is what I'm saying. It
Or you
begins.
both feel the same way sometimes. You
Yeah.
both
So
feel कि ओहो हम लोग तो घर पे भी साथ में रहते हैं पार्टी में भी जाके साथ में रहेंगे क्या? So you are
yeah.
saying that means there is something incomplete in their relationship already.
In their relationship and in themselves, if
In
they are just
themselves.
full,
Yeah.
if they're just full in within their own thing. Like, I keep encouraging all of my students and all of the people that I see for spiritual counseling now. I don't say any more life coaching, but for
Right.
spiritual counseling, it's like, especially when I talk to women, make your lives very very whole. सुबह से लेके रात तक, you should have so many things going for you, which is
Right.
completing your life, that you're not hanging on to one person to complete you. Have a
Right.
lot of other social network. I have movie buddies, I have badminton buddies, I have yoga buddies, I have a book club going, different things. I have a confidant, I have a friend, because one husband or one wife cannot fulfill all of this. Now, what
Correct.
is happening, it's very obvious to see that in a relationship, two people don't grow together. They evolve very differently, you see.
Correct.
So one partner could be out there having a full life, which I see very, very commonly, while the other person is just waiting at home for that person, whether it be a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. It will not work like that, because you can't capture the person who's out there making and building his or her life. So both people have to have a very full personal life with a lot of hobbies, with a lot of friends, with a lot of groups that they can do everything else with. Then when they go out for parties and all that, they are not going to feel like, oh, this only one person that I'm clinging on to for dear life is leaving me and going and talking to other people, because that person will also want to go and talk to other people. So this whole, when you, I
So
think when you
you are
put all
saying
your focus,
that feeling of suffocation in the relationship, that feeling of that we are already exhausted, that itself make them incomplete, and they should not try to, then okay, complete it. But if they are satisfied in their own lives, a husband has his absolutely fulfilled life. Similarly, if a wife has her own ambitions, all satisfied, very fulfilled life, her social things are taken care of, then even if they go in the party together, they would like to be called lovebirds. They would be together. They would enjoy each other's company. They would not even think about going away from each other and doing the things to their own. So that makes a great point, actually.
the
That's fantastic.
problems problems arise when you put all your eggs in that one basket. ये
Correct.
मेरा पति है या ये मेरी पत्नी है. I expect a friend, I expect a confidant, I expect a badminton buddy, I expect a
You
walking buddy.
expect a
I want,
Superman.
I expect a Superman or a
Superman.
Superwoman. I've already told this, and I think in our
Exactly.
the first series that we had,
We
Draupadi
had that
wanted
too.
that.
Nobody wants to.
Draupadi wanted that, and then in many lives later, her wish was fulfilled, and वो सब 5 husband ने पूरे किए, एक husband ने नहीं. You
हाँ,
know, so it's not possible. And you know, why does it always have to be, especially in the, you know, the times that we live in, just because a man and woman are friends out of the marriage? Like, you know, suppose if my very good friend is a man and I'm a married woman, it
right,
shouldn't be looked on immediately as, oh, they're having an
right.
affair.
Yeah.
It does
Hello,
it does
Sonal. Hello, Upasna. We are getting some comments today, so that's very nice.
it doesn't have to be like that, you see.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be looked upon like that. I think
yeah,
we have to open our minds to have friendships across genders. It's okay
right.
for men to have women friends. But then one important thing, we had touched upon it in one of our earlier chats, is that your core agreement in the marriage, you know,
Yeah.
loyalty, fidelity, what are the boundaries, what is it, what boundaries should not be crossed outside of this marriage, that should be adhered to as long as you're with somebody. I mean,
Well,
even
as
going,
you said, like if they are incomplete, they are somewhere incomplete, and which triggers little bit. So it all starts from slowly. It starts with going out into parties. It starts with, then fiddling out their relationship, arguments, and then it just keeps going. If you don't mend it, if you don't repair it, we spoke about these things in our previous 2 episodes. Now, how do so that is an ideal situation, that two complete people come together, complement each other. What if that doesn't happen? And that's a 90% of the problem. How do we still stay committed to each other and then stay together in the relationship, and continue to grow and continue to make, like, each other happy, whatever the best way they can. And I think that is where this apology and sorry, honey, I will not, it will not happen again. What's where does this sorry and apology and that the whole thing plays a role?
see, I'll come back to what the foundation. I think this foundation is a good foundation to build upon.
Yeah,
There's another quote that says, I did what I did
right.
because that was what I knew to do. I didn't know better. Now that I know better, I'll do things differently. So if you ask me the question that, okay, ठीक है, ऐसा हुआ है कि two incomplete people have come together trying to find their completeness in each other.
हम ये अज्यूम
Now,
कर रहे हैं कि ये हो गया अब, हाँ.
and now today, hopefully you're listening to this chat and you
Right.
realize, especially in this day and age, it's not going to work. So you
Correct.
didn't know that before, तो कोई तो अधूरा आदमी दिया या अधूरी olive ली and hoping that we will become one beautiful whole and we'll do some wonderful things. It didn't happen. Now try to become complete within yourselves. And how can you become complete is by encouraging each another. You have to encourage. A man should encourage his woman. Go out. Kya hai? Today only I saw a wonderful reel on Instagram where one man was advising, an elderly man was advising, and he started off with that I told my wife at the age of 60 or at the age of 70, I don't want you to come to me and tell me I sacrificed my whole life for you. He said, that will be my death sentence. So please, you are an excellent dancer, go dance. You're an excellent singer, go sing. Go fulfill your hobbies. Ji lo apni zindagi. Just because a woman steps out to G lo her zindagi or a man steps out to G lo his zindagi does not mean that they cannot maintain a relationship at home. In fact, the more and more they live their lives completely on their own, the more and more they will come together to add beauty to each other's life. They will add so much joy to each other's life. ये कब शुरू होता है ये सब? If you ask me, if you look at the पुराने घिसे पिटे कहानियां, where a woman is saying, you are not looking at me enough, you are not complimenting me enough, वो पहले जैसा प्यार नहीं रहा, वो पहले जैसी बातें नहीं रही. क्यों? How can anything be पहले जैसा? Is that what life is? Life is a
Yeah.
flowing river, right? But
Right.
why is that happening? Because that woman is sitting in the house, or even if she's working, she's coming back expecting that one person who's
Only
also
one.
coming who's
Yes.
also coming home thakahara to fulfill, to look at her, to compliment her, to appreciate her cooking, to appreciate. How is that possible? It all becomes, so if you want two words to sum it all up, self love. जब तक सेल्फ लव नहीं होता तब तक दूसरों को लव हम कर ही नहीं सकते. इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल.
So दोनों को अपने आप को सेल्फ लव करना पड़ेगा और दोनों
सेल्फ
को.
लव हैज टू.
All right. So let's say, okay, so that is done. Now उसके बाद भी मिस्टेक्स होती है. मिस्टेक इन द सेंस कि एंगर आता है, रिजेंटमेंट आता है, आर्ग्यूमेंट्स होते हैं. So it all starts with the arguments. तुमने ऐसा नहीं किया. You looked at her. It was your fault. She came and talked to you in front of me. It was your fault. You replied to her. Whatever it is. So how do we just forgive somebody at that moment when that thought, that anger or resentment comes within you?
Honey, you cannot forgive if you don't have confidence in yourself.
Right.
इतना खुद में कॉन्फिडेंस होना चाहिए कि no matter how many women my husband looks at, no matter how many women my husband talks to, he's not going to find anybody like me. That much
Right.
confidence.
Okay, so that is self-love. That is what the self-love.
That is that is self-love and
Yeah, that is
confidence.
self-love.
जब तक वो नहीं है कुणाल जी, जब तक वो नहीं है, तब तक anything that threatens a woman or a man and makes that woman or man feel less than. Okay, why does a woman feel jealous when her man is talking to somebody else? Because उसको उतनी अहमियत नहीं मिल रही है अपने पति से. When her husband is leaving her at a party and going and speaking to others and clearly having a wonderful time, that beautiful song is there, Radha kaise na jale, कान्हा इधर उधर जाए, राधा कैसे ना जले. It's a common thing. So until the woman is dependent on this kanhaya of hers, it's not going to work. She is going to feel jealous. So to mend that, if it is an unalterable position, like you're saying, it's self-love has not yet happened or whatever, then it's almost absolutely necessary that the man or woman, whoever is the main dominant character in this play, becomes sensitive to these issues. A man should understand that my wife is a bit insecure. So उसके सामने तो मैं ऐसा कुछ नहीं करूँ कि उसको खुद पे शर्मा जाए.
तो उसके लिए ये जो अपना हिंदुइज्म में सिस्टम है अपोलॉजी का, राइट? आप आज का टॉपिक हमारा है अपोलॉजी का. We'll just stay to that topic. It's almost 39 minutes now. So for next 20 minutes, I want you to cover this: how we can create an atmosphere where somebody can respectfully say sorry, apologize, move forward, stay violent free, an environment become for the whole family, that at least they can have a dinner in the night together as a family. तो किसी
So
ने मुझे बोला था, एक बहुत मेरे अंकल हैं, it was like he always tells me that whatever happens, or there is a very good reel which is flowing around, that a dad is telling to his daughter at the time of wedding, when she was leaving the home, that beta, whatever happens, रात को जो भी तुमसे बात हो, आर्गुमेंट हो, बात हो, रात को ही खत्म करके सोना, have a dinner with your family every day, and then you guys go sleep. So why these things, they have been our cultural issues, we have been, they have been talking about it, but it's still why people don't practice these things, and can it help? The question is, can these things help? If it clearly, what you see in an environment, it's not helping. 90% marriages are if you see that group of 150,000 Indians, and if you see everybody just posting, like one person posts a question, you get like 150 replies. Why? Because everybody has the same problem. So how can we practice this apology in our regular life, and how it can work?
So, first and foremost, the foundation of any apology to work has to be love. कि उसमें love है या नहीं relationship में. That is the number one thing. If the
One,
relationship is over, if प्यार ही नहीं रहा, तो कोई apology चलने ही नहीं वाली है. तो first and foremost you have to see कि love है क्या अभी तक foundation में.
if
नहीं
there
है
is
तो
any,
drop it.
yeah,
If they, yeah, nahi hai to it's useless, because no
I
matter how
see.
much a man apologizes or a woman apologizes, see, if there is love,
Does it has to do with something called respect, that if two parties cannot just stand in front of each other, then there is no point?
where does it comes from? Love as well, right? We're talking about,
Right.
if you're talking purely about marriage, you're either you love each other or वो phase खत्म हो गया. And nowadays we see that people are growing out of love fully in a marriage. They just don't feel the same way about their partner at all. So if that is the case,
But
this
Avantika ji,
conversation.
I have seen marriages failing, not because of love, but because of ego. I have seen wives, they are going out of the way, becoming so successful in their careers, in their ambitions, that they just don't care. And the same way, men don't care. That okay, agar isko jana hai to jaye, I don't care, I'll find somebody else. But later on, but their love is there somewhere inside their heart. It's just buried. That's how I feel, buried with their ego, buried with their ambitions, buried with their other priorities in life, and
But
they
that's
don't
what I'm
realize until the fight starts. They just don't realize. 40-50% of marriages, I got the data, especially in United States, they come back after they apply for divorce.
they do.
Within 3 months, 6 months, within 6 months, 40 to 50% marriages, they get reunited, because they
We
realize that whatever was the love, it was buried. And now when they start actually spending money on their divorce, they realize it was a foolish idea.
No, but this is what I was trying to say. Ki if that love is there, then we can proceed to the next steps. So if that love is there, then comes that phase of apology. कि मुझसे कुछ गलती हुई है, please forgive. Now you're saying in today's day and age where each one is very career driven, ambition driven. Let's just talk about life in the US or anywhere abroad.
Right.
And it gets to the head. Success gets to the head. When success starts getting to the head, you forget about that love that was there. That love gets buried even further or whatever.
Especially when you are empty nesters. Yeah.
And we are talking about what you are talking about, marriages reuniting when they come to the portals of divorce. They come
Right.
back together. Forget
Right.
that. I know of people in Singapore. I know of a person who left his wife, went away with another woman for 5 years, lived with another woman, came back to his wife after 5 years, and they have the best marriage you can imagine now. And we
Oh,
call
they
that
reunited?
yeah, we call that the prodigal marriage, the prodigal husband, or the story of the prodigal son, right? कि किसी
No,
राजा
no.
के इसी राजा के 2 बेटे थे और one beta was the black sheep. So he was very rebellious and all that, and he left the house and all that, and he became so poor, so poor, so poor, destroyed himself, and then he came back. And the Raja, instead of kicking him, accepted him. And he was called the prodigal son, and he became the best son ever. वो इतनी अच्छी तरह से खूबी से अपनी son के duties निभाने लगा. It was fascinating. And that is what I've seen in a lot of marriages, because when you understand, see, when you are on that high of success,
Right.
you don't understand what is at stake. What are you going to lose? Okay.
Right.
But when you lose it, or when you're at the brink of losing something, you realize this is not worth it. All this success in my life is not going to replace this love that I've had. That is a very important realization, and that's when marriages come together.
So come again. All the
success in the world cannot replace that love. I've seen so many, because I counsel all the time.
It doesn't matter how many $1 million you make.
Yeah,
at the end your $1 million is your healthy relationship with your spouse.
No, and at the end of the day, अगर बहुत सारा पैसा हो, एक बड़ा सा घर हो, और साथ में कोई खाने के लिए नहीं है,
साथ में कोई ढूंढ लेंगे, कोई और ढूंढ लेंगे जो हमारे
ढूंढो हो सकता है. Is it easy? We discussed this, right? That there's a statistic. It's a proven statistic. First marriage fail हुआ तो second marriage high chance fail होगा. Third marriage तो fail होगा ही होगा. We've discussed this in our previous talk. You know, so it is not the question of. I was appalled one day when I was listening to a Bollywood director. I'm not going to take names, but it was such a horrible thing.
Abhishek. Well, look, she's a Miss World.
No, 1 second, leave that alone. A Bollywood director, I will not take his name, was on social media saying, क्या होता है ना, मैं जब शादी करता हूँ ना, तो थोड़ी देर ही वो इंस्पिरेशन चलती है, और वो इंस्पिरेशन खुश हो जाती है, तो मैं फिर से शादी करता हूँ, उसको डिवोर्स करके मैं नया इंस्पिरेशन ढूंढता हूँ.
I remember this. Yes.
And then उससे भी इंस्पिरेशन खत्म होता है, तो मैं तीसरी शादी कर. Is a woman a source of inspiration for a short period of time? Hello? Is this what marriage is? I was appalled. This was on social media with some million likes and all. I said, are you insane? This is what you're making relationships? You know? And that is why I think the younger generation are getting a feel into this, and that's why they're saying, शादी नहीं करनी है, live in करते हैं. Now I know so many couples who are living in for years and years, शादी नहीं की. किसी ने तो बच्चे शादी नहीं की है. Can you believe that?
Now, what difference will it make? Shadi, aap karo na karo, emotionally you are connected. You are like one person.
Their thing is कि legal document नहीं है ना, तो court में खर्चा नहीं होता. जब inspiration खत्म हो जाए, तो टाटा bye bye हम जा रहे हैं, दूसरा inspiration हो. But with the marriage, there's a legal document. There's all of that is there involved. But it's a very sick kind of a mentality. I think marriage has been put together for a particular reason. सोच समझ के, we've discussed this at great length in our previous talks. सोच समझ के शादी करनी.
Yeah, so let's how to apologize then? So I also heard somebody says, there was a Babaji, that first apologize yourself and then apologize the other person. What does this mean? I mean, I just could not understand this concept. I mean, of course, जो गलती करता है उसको तो पता है मन में, पता, जिसने भी गलती करी ना, sin जिसने किया उसको पता है. But अपन ने बोला hate the sin, not the sinner, right, in the beginning. तो उसको ये पता है, अब वो suppose he is repenting, he is apologizing, so हमारे Jainism में कहा गया है, like, we do public apology. It's called मिच्छामि दुक्कडम.
Yes, sir.
We do, अभी last month ही गया है. Every year we have this once a year tradition in Jainism, मिच्छामि दुक्कडम, where you publicly apologize, you forgive yourself. उसी में actually Jainism में है कि you forgive first yourself before seeking forgiveness from others. So what are your thoughts on that?
Forgiveness for self will come when you can be honest and earnest enough to acknowledge that आपसे गलती हुई है. We just discussed this at the beginning of the podcast. Most people don't take any accountability. You only started the podcast saying, उसने ये किया है, मेरे husband ने ऐसा किया, मेरे wife ने ऐसा किया, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया. And I said, it takes two to tango. It doesn't, ताली कभी भी हार, कभी एक हाथ से नहीं बचती. तो फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट फॉर अ गुड अपॉलजी देयर हैज टू बी एक्नॉलेजमेंट कि मेरे से भी कुछ गलती हुई है. वो गलती समझने में कुछ देर लगती है कि मुझसे क्या गलती हुई है. We were talking pre-show a little bit. You know, many times in hindsight, after the show is over, then we understand what mistake we've made. Okay?
Yes.
So, एक बार जब हमें mistake पता चले, we have understood, so that is your first apology to self. To sit with yourself and say, मैंने ऐसा किया क्यों? और
हाँ.
सेल्फ के सेल्फ से अपॉलजी मांगने में थोड़ी दिक्कत होती है क्योंकि मैं कौन किससे मांगती हूँ. It's always we
Exactly.
have to, it's an outward action because all our five senses are outward.
भगवान मंदिर में
Bhag-
जाके मांगते हो.
so
Yeah.
it is you just sit quietly at your altar और
मेडिटेशन करते हो. हाँ.
भगवान से माफी मांगो कि मुझसे ये गलती क्यों हुई, मुझे माफ कर देना. बस दैट इज अ प्राइवेट अपॉलजी फॉर योर सेल्फ विथ योर गॉड विथ योर सेल्फ. एक बार वो जब हुई एंड देन अ रेजोल्यूशन देयर विद दैट अपॉलजी, अ वेरी फर्म रेजोल्यूशन कि अब मैं ये गलती फिर से न करूं, कभी भी न
Exactly.
करूं. Once you have made that mind very strong with accepting your apology, apologizing to yourself, and resolving not to repeat that mistake, then you take that apology to the person that you have offended. तो पहले खुद को माफ करो और फिर बाद में जाके दूसरों से माफी मांगो कि मुझे माफ करो. See, even this michhami dukkham, whatever your thing is, I get those from all my friends every year, and
Yes,
I'm
yes, yes,
always
yes.
almost tempted to ask कि आपने वो गलती सुधारी क्या, या
I know.
वही सेम गलती को आप दोहरा दोहरा के
अगले साल
हर
फिर कर
साल
रहे हो.
हर साल एक बार ये माफी मांगते हो, फिर से वही दोहराते हो. बिकॉज अगर आपने वो गलती सुधारी है तो बार बार साल साल में माफी नहीं मांगनी पड़ेगी. एंड अगर आप एक गलती सुधारो तो बाकी बहुत सारी गलतियां सुधारते हैं. you know it's common. But if
Yeah.
every year you have to keep apologizing, then you're going to be the sinner from womb to tomb. It's a very sorry existence. कितनी गलतियां करोगे और कितनी
Right.
माफिया मांगोगे आप. तो basically it comes down to becoming your best version of yourself. खुद
Correct.
से माफी मांगो, खुद को where are you
How to
erring.
change your own behavior? That's very difficult. So once, but what happens is, let's say if I apologize or somebody apologized to me, and if other person is angry, now you already said like that means the love is lost. You cannot do anything. Apology is only when somebody is ready to listen.
Yes, yes.
And then that person should come forward and accept that I'm going to change my behavior over a period of time. And if that person sees that I'm changing my behavior, then only it is going to work.
Apologies don't work. Actions work. Actions speak louder than words. Apology सिर्फ एक पहला step है. To speak and say I am sorry is the first step. उसके बाद it has to be backed up by an immediate, emphatic, बहुत strong action के साथ you have to back it up very
Mm,
fast. Or
mm,
like suppose if you, let's take this first example we took, okay, that a man has a habit of leaving his wife aside and going to parties and sitting and talking to everybody else. Wife is offended, man को गलती समझ में आई, he comes and says I'm sorry. The next party, there should be a
you should stay
deliberate action
together.
immediately and not fake कि
Yeah.
इसको दिखाने
No,
के
with
लिए.
man
मन
say.
से, और मन से तभी होगा जब वो पहली माफी खुद से माफी हमने बराबर मांगी है और खुद से रेजोल्यूशन हमने बराबर किया है. तो
और वो
अगर ये
उसको
खुद,
enjoy करे उसको. वो
yes,
उसको
so you
the
enjoy it.
companionship he enjoys.
because then he understands कि अगर this behavior I continue to do, मैं इसको खोने वाला हूँ. When you realize what it is that you're going to lose, तो अपने आप with joy you have changed your behavior. You see, नहीं तो अगर आप एकदम खुले दिल से माफी मांगो इधर, नेक्स्ट पार्टी पे आप वही करो, या दो पार्टी के लिए आप सप्रेस करके उसके साथ बैठो और तीसरी पार्टी को आप दौड़ो. It's not going to
Correct.
work like that. It
Yes.
doesn't work like that, you
It
see.
doesn't work like this. No, that is so impressive. So what is the final? So we have 54 minutes. We have another 6 minutes. We'll just complete it for a year for 1 hour. What are your final thoughts on this apology, and how can somebody achieve this if he is really sincere to apologize, and if the things have gone too far? So like the story which you were telling, that the 5 years, what did this guy do to come back after 5 years?
He
Where
realized what
did
he realized what he had with his wife was
how did his
more
wife
precious.
forgive him? Then how did his wife forgive him?
His
That
wife
act.
too, because they loved each other. That's what I'm saying. When the love is strong,
But two women. He was with another woman for 5 years. So
yes,
two, he probably asked for forgiveness from two women for the
yes.
same thing.
I don't. But then what I'm trying to say is that when the see the thing is, as we grow older, okay, let me take a little bit of the Hindu shastras in this.
Yeah.
You see, if you want to go the very traditional way, I don't know, people might throw stones at me, but it's okay because that those are my beliefs, which I'm here to share, of course.
Yeah.
Marriage is not a God given document that ye hona
Okay.
chahiye. Okay. It's a man made, very cleverly made
System.
institution system.
Institution system.
अगर मैरिज नहीं होता तो हम में और पशु पक्षी में कोई डिफरेंस नहीं होता. You see, we have innate sexual desires, we have desires to procreate, we have desires to start a family. By putting it in a marriage, we are just keeping all of those desires in a very non vulgar, straight, respectable kind of an environment for the man and woman. It is even scientifically, agar you continue to have 1 million affairs, you're going to come down with some, I'm going to be very blunt and frank here, you're going to come down with some sexually transmitted disease, which is not a very good thing to do. In fact, it's funny, when I was living in the US, and women have to go for pap smears every year. And my doctor used to always say, no, you don't have to worry about certain gynecological cancers because you are with one man. It's scientifically proven. So for that, it keeps a man and woman safe, first of all. I've heard many yogic masters talk about when man and woman come together, there's a lot of sharing of auric energy with each other. Every auric energy, individual auric energy, has a lot of trauma, lot of baggage. अगर हम हर साल हर 5 साल दूसरी 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 औरत से दूसरी what are you going to be carrying within yourself? Imagine how mixed up your aura is going to be. So even for the physical, mental, spiritual well-being of a man and woman, a marriage institution works. For rearing of children, it breaks my heart when school forms come, father number one, father number two, father number three, mother number one, mother number two. Today, my 20-year-old daughter who studies in Canada says, at the end of the day, mummy, I really feel that parents should be living together happily for the sake of their children. It makes a massive impact on how the children, and not fighting parents. Parents actually in love, understanding. For what? For a greater purpose of raising these children. लेकिन what you said is so correct. हमारे वो success में, हमारे वो ego में, we forget these things. We forget the love that a man and woman share. We forget the duty and responsibility of us continuing our generations through our children, and we get on to our own ego trips. But अगर हम traditions, संस्कारों पे आ जाते हैं finally, and we say this is what differentiates us from an animal, it satisfies our basic innate needs. It helps us create generations. हम अभी है कल नहीं होंगे, लेकिन कुछ तो हम इस दुनिया के लिए अच्छे बच्चों की तरह छोड़ जाते हैं, in the guise of good children. All of these things we have stopped thinking about. This is where we need to come back to our Sanatan Dharma, to our culture, to our traditions. Why marriage? What marriage?
Fantastic. Well, it's a very good end. I think I'm going to end the show. Otherwise, we'll just uh, continue to do. But we'll have probably another show in next 2 weeks' time or a month's time. Um, this was a great conversation. So I will just summarize it for our readers. We started with the foundation, which you laid very well. That what are the typical foundation of a marriage from the practical perspective, and then we sorry and being apologetic or is very important. There is no point keeping your ego, right? There is no point keeping the ego if there is a love, and even if the love is buried, there are chances that it may come up on earth by itself. And then you realize at some point whatever the mistakes both parties made probably just made, and you just keep moving. Well, thank you very much. Happy Diwali again. And then I will, of course, reach out to you for the another show. Do you have any final thoughts you want to just convey?
Nothing. Live happily. That's all. Whether you're living in a marriage, whether you're living out of a marriage, complete yourself.
Complete
Find that
yourself.
wholeness within you. जी भर के जियो, छोटी सी जिंदगी है, before you know it, it's over. And when you come across somebody, come to love from a point of fullness, not from a point of emptiness. कि मैं
Correct.
अधूरी है, कोई मुझे पूरा करेगा, ऐसा मत करो, because that's not
That's
going
a
to
very
happen.
great advice, actually. Very good advice in today's show. I really like two complete people should come together to complement each other,
Yeah.
and two incomplete people should not come together. But they do, unfortunately. So they have to
But then
make an
help.
attempt,
Yes.
correct, to complete
Yes.
themselves.
Encourage each other to complete themselves, because the more happy each individual is, they come together और
Then there would
धमाका
not
हो
be
जाता
any need for apology. There would not be any need for
है।
apology.
अगर दो खुश लोग साथ आते हैं तो धमाका दिवाली से ज्यादा बड़ा धमाका
दिवाली
हो
से
जाता है।
ज्यादा धमाका हो
पूरा
जाएगा.
पूरी पूरी रात रोशन हो जाती है।
Exactly. Let's do a
So
dhamaka
do
then.
that.
Well,
Yes,
thank you
yes.
so much. Thank you so much, Avantika ji. Have a great one. Thank you. So this was our show. Happy Diwali again. As Avantika ji said, let's just create fireworks in your relationship. Have a dhamaka. And I will see you next time with a new show and another guest. If not, again, Avantika ji. Thank you very much.